Hello and welcome to episode 12 of the Veloce Podcast.
Hello.
We've got a very special guest today.
We have one of the UK's leading high-performance driving coaches. He's laughing about that.
Yeah, already.
But he is well known for his technical knowledge and his knowledge of tracks and roads and all that kind of stuff. The thing is, if you go out with Nick, you'll learn a lot. You'll have a good time. There's no bullshit involved. Whenever Nick's customers are always learning a lot and having a good laugh, aren't they? That's kind of.
We might need to use his full name here, though. So let's introduce him formally as Nick Arnold.
Mr. Nick Arnold.
Yeah. Before we
a legend in his own lifetime.
So, how are you, Nick? Are you all right?
I'm fine, thanks. And you?
Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad.
Yeah. The sun's shining.
Long time no see. Long time no see.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, yeah. When was the last time we saw you? About
March last year.
Yeah.
Is it
Must have been.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Last year? Yeah. That just shows how quickly it goes, hey?
Yeah.
Unbelievable. So, how have you been keeping busy then?
Not really, no. I've been doing what you're told, to be honest. I've been on YouTube a lot. I'm YouTube's biggest subscriber, I think.
So watching, not starring, you mean?
Yeah, watching and not starring, usually. Yeah, usually.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Not this time,
YouTube. Say that again.
Not this time, though.
No, not this time. Unfortunately, all the famous people were busy, so you thought you'd ask me, didn't you?
We've started at the top, Nick, and we're working down.
Yeah, or it might be the other way around, yeah.
So, Rich, why don't you just tell us a little bit about Nick and who Nick is?
So Nick, we know Nick through Porsche, don't we? So Porsche, he's one of Porsche's senior driving consultants, but it
means I'm old.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm senior, so you can't say that.
And he's well known for he likes a V8. He likes a Yank car, that is. Yeah.
But his biggest thing, you're a driver coach, aren't you? And how long have you been a driver coach for?
Almost 20 years now. Man and boy.
You're getting the hang of it.
I've almost got the hang of it.
Yeah.
Still a lot to learn. Yeah.
What got you into it then? What got you into coaching?
Nobody else will have me. That's a really good question, that is, and I knew you were going to ask me that. Long story, which I'll keep short because you've only got a few minutes to do this. I injured my back in the day. I had to have a back operation, so I had to stop the job I was doing, which was in the haulage industry because my family run a haulage business. So I had to stop doing that, and I'd always been given the task of training people. I don't know why. I think I was the only one to do it, I think, to train it. And it seemed to go well. Yeah. So I thought, I can't do this anymore. What can I do? So I thought, what I'll do, I had a look round and I thought, I know, there's places where you can do event work at the weekends where you can train people, like a red letter today, if you like. Yeah. And it was through a firm called Drive and Survive that Rich knows well. It was called Drive It All, I think. Yeah. So, and they used to train company car drivers, and they had, as I say, this event side. So I thought, well, that looks quite interesting. So I got some qualifications, and one of them would be a driving instructor qualification because you needed that to do it, and a fleet qualification. So I did all that myself, didn't have any help, passed all those qualifications, got into it that way. And I really enjoyed the event side. So I thought, I built up and they let me do different things. So I worked up the way through that business. Then somebody said they're looking for people at Rockingham Raceway. I thought, oh, that sounds quite handy, and it's a bit nearer as well. So I could do a bit of that as well. So they're Rockingham Raceway, one of the best facilities. I still think he's the best facility in the country. Unfortunately, as we all know now, it's gone. But at the time, 52,000 seats, and you could see 99% of the track. And it was modern, and it looked really good. And there were some great events there. So I worked way through there. And somebody said, look, we're looking for some instructors for the race series, you know, the race school, I should say.
Yeah.
So, but you've got to go racing. I thought, oh, that sounds quite good. I'll put it to my wife. I'll say, look, if I go racing, I'll get more work.
That's a good way of putting it.
That was it. I said, it's more work. There's much more work. So, but you have to do a series around. What I ended up doing, I'm cutting it short, I did about 3 seasons of racing. In 750 Motor Club Stock Hatch and Legends, which were fantastic. So I built up through that, did my racing. It was okay. I never won anything, but then again, I never had any money. There's my excuse anyway.
There's a correlation.
Bearing in mind here, I will say, in the 750 Motor Club, the car I was in was worth about the same as the bloke's front suspension who won.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So
motorsport then.
So there's my excuse. And then I went to Donington as well, and then somebody said to me, they're looking for people at Porsche. So I sent my CV in, and James Taylor, who was there at the time, he's not there anymore. He said, come and have an interview. So I went and had an interview with someone called Gordy, who you know really well.
Yeah.
And Gordy said he must have been in a weak moment. And he said yes. Yeah. So, a very weak moment. He regrets it ever since, I think. So that was 14 years ago. He said yes. I didn't start work though until 13 years ago. But the experience, but I've been there ever since. Yeah. And obviously, as you know, I've built up shall we say, a selection of private clients as well.
Yes.
So I'm an art instructor, which I didn't say, from the race school, I should say. Yeah. And so I teach on tracks as well. So it's been really good fun. Really, really good fun. Yeah. And you know, people have said this to you. You've got the best job in the world. Sometimes I'd argue that, but it's better than a proper job, isn't it?
Absolutely. Like any job, you have good days and bad days, but I think you have more good days, don't you, than bad days. That's the thing.
A bad day is still better than most people's
absolutely
good days, probably, at work.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So where do you see it going next then? Have you got any ideas of where you want to take it, like with your private clients, that kind of thing?
Yeah, I just want to do more different stuff. That's the thing. It's the variety that I like.
Yeah,
the varieties. That's what it's all about, isn't it? And like you two as well, you get to sit in cars that you'd never get to sit in.
No,
absolutely.
If it was your own car. Yeah. So, for instance, a couple of weeks ago, there was a £500,000 car.
Yeah.
And he lets me drive it. What a fool!
Well, like you said, there'll be a handful of people in the world will have driven those things.
Yeah.
You know.
So it's really good fun. Yeah, really good fun. So what I'm trying to do is build up more of a variety, to be fair.
Yeah.
And as a young boy, what did you want to do? Was that always an ambition to, like, were cars and motorsport always kind of on the horizon, or did you fall into that a bit?
Yeah, like most young boys, I wanted to be a racing driver. So my dad took me to, if I can talk about where it started, my dad took me to Silverstone before you two were born, actually. In 1966, 67, I think it was. I can't remember actually. Yeah. And we went to watch a bloke who he worked for, a bloke called John Jordan, who was a bit of a hero around this area.
Yeah.
So he used to fly tiger moths and bomb people with flour, because that's what he used to do. Jordan's natural bars that you buy in there.
Yeah.
He started his business, and he was, I'd say, he was flying a tiger moth, and every so often there'd be a flower bomb coming out of it, bombing bits. So he was a proper character, and he was racing the GT40.
Right.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So that was my first time I've ever really watched anything like that, and I was 6 or 7 at the time, and that struck me. And I remember we was at Stowe, was at Stowe Corner, and the noise from these cars, the proper cars, the 60s cars, was amazing. And then my dad took me to watch the stock car racing.
Oh, yeah.
Formula 1 stock car racing.
Yeah.
And then when I was 11, he took me to Santa Pod to watch the drag racing.
Right.
So there's a theme here.
Yeah.
It's all V8.
Yeah.
It's all V8. And that's what got me, I think. So that's what sparked my interest. And eventually it came apart, all came to pass.
So your dad was very into it as well then? So he was a...
No, not at all.
Oh, really?
Not at all.
Really?
No, he just took me because I wanted to go.
Is
Right.
that right? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, absolutely. He also took me to football as well, which he loved.
Yeah.
So I that as well. But
He was
he didn't. No, he was a Luton supporter.
Oh,
Unfortunately,
oh,
I developed my passion a little bit later on. Yeah. Unfortunately, I should say. But yeah, West Ham. Yeah, I'll show you my room, but you won't.
Yeah, you better not now. Better not.
No, not talking about football.
Yeah, so what was I going to say? So why did you stop racing then? So you had that kind of chance, you did 3 years. Was there a reason you just decided to stop?
Yeah, I'll have a guess.
Money.
Money, yeah.
Yeah.
Even back then, it used to cost about £1,000 a weekend.
Yeah.
Did it?
That was without any problems. And in Legends and stock cars, stock hatch racing, there quite often is a problem.
Yeah.
So, and it gets really expensive. So I think in the end, I've thought 3 seasons, right, I've had my fun.
Yeah.
It's not going to go any further than this because I'm not all of a sudden going to get a £500,000 sponsor.
No.
Yeah.
And so I thought, right, I've had my fun. I'll get down to what I need to get down to now. So that's why I stopped. It's simple as that. It's just lack of money.
But did you ever miss it? So like obviously having so much fun for 3 years, was it quite hard to suddenly...
Especially the Legends were the small, hot rod looking cars with motorbike engines, which are ballistically quick, up to 120, and close racing, and it was just so much fun. If you haven't done it, you don't realise the adrenaline, because there used to be rolling starts, and the adrenaline when you were sitting on the grid was just, or as you come along the grid, it's just buzz. It's just a major buzz.
Yeah.
No, there isn't.
No.
Nothing at all like it at all. Even watching West Ham win, it's still not the biggest buzz.
Still not the same. Yeah.
Mind you, that doesn't happen very often.
Right.
I'm joking.
We'll get a load of comments this week.
Sorry, not that I actually know, to be fair.
No.
So, with the teaching side, then,
Right.
So have you ever had any times teaching somebody where you think, I just don't know what to do with this person? And I don't mean that in a bad way, but like as in like you just can't find a way to improve them. Have you ever had that kind of situation?
Okay, you do get the times where you think, how did you get to the circuit to start with? You think, I've tried all day long. It's only once, 1 in 100, you'd say.
Yeah.
I've tried all day long, but there's nothing that I've said that you're still doing.
No.
Yeah.
And there's just the odd person, but they're not doing it on purpose.
No.
It's just that they're just.
We've had this conversation about driving dyslexics, haven't we?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, go on.
I will have somebody, I won't mention his name, but I've taken out on many occasions, and we get on like a house on fire, and he wants to learn so much, and I have tried every different thing within my toolbox, and he will do it, but the moment I stop and hand the control to him, all of a sudden he slips straight back to what he was doing, and I get to a point where I think, and maybe that's my downfall. Maybe there is more I can do. Honestly, I don't know. But yeah, where I think I'm not sure what to do now, because it's like but not just that, like you'll do a bit of Q&A and he gives you the right answers. So you think, well, he understands theory, he understands.
Yeah.
And then you think, so I don't know. But that's the beauty of the job, I suppose, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is everybody is different, and we have to be so adaptable in what we do.
No, absolutely. Well, the worst people I've had was a forensic chemical scientist and a philosopher, a professor of philosophy.
Yeah.
And both of them are the same. They have to tick 20 boxes before they do something.
Yeah.
And at 100 miles an hour coming into a corner, you haven't got time to tick 20 boxes before you do something. So,
yeah.
The easiest people to teach, I've always thought, is Asbo Boy off the council estate.
Yeah.
He just don't think at all.
Yeah.
And he just does exactly what you tell him to do without thinking. And then gradually he'll just pick it up himself. So possibly why I'm all right, really, I suppose.
But yeah,
doing what you're told.
I think it is easy to overthink it, isn't it? And go into too much detail too soon. And at some point it's good to understand the theory, but I think initially it is muscle memory and just feeling it, getting hands-on with it, feeling it work and not work, that kind of thing, and then taking it to the next stage, isn't it? But that's the beauty again of the job, is everybody's a bit different, and that's where we have to be very adaptable, don't we? And think on our feet, really. So what do you think the hardest thing is about the job of being a driver coach?
The hardest thing, okay. So the hardest thing for me is because the people I looked after all the time, I know them, say intimately, it's not quite the right word, but I know them back to front.
Yeah.
I know their children, I know what they do for work, I know how they think. It's the people that come up to you all of a sudden and you've got to take out.
Yeah.
And you've got to teach them something quickly.
Yeah.
And it's that adaptability as they're sitting in the car that you've got to work out yourself.
Yeah.
How can I get the most out of these in, for instance, 90 minutes?
Yeah.
Just the figure I'm going to put out there.
Yeah.
How do you get the best out of them? How they're going to enjoy it, what they're going to take from it quickly, like that. It's been quite successful, to be fair, but that's the hardest part.
Yeah.
If I know somebody, it's easy.
Yeah. Oh, a big part of it, isn't it, is understanding somebody's personality and the way they tick. And I think that is something people don't appreciate, perhaps, with our job, is how important that bit is. You know, is tuning into people.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not just a technical element of knowing something. It's understanding the way to deliver it to that individual, and at the right rate, isn't it? And the right way, and have fun. That's the other thing that I think is so important, is enjoy it. You know, I think certainly in my experience, I'm sure it's the same for all of us, is the people that seem to respond best are the people having fun.
Yeah.
You know, at the same time.
You teachers, you like to be taught.
Yeah.
I like to have fun. I like to have fun when I'm learning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what I try and do with the clients, and most of the time it works. Well, more than most of the time. Actually. So
some people must learn by being shouted at and condescended then now. You know,
I think that's a joke there, by the way. So do you have and I promise I'll stop asking questions in a minute, but do you have a standout moment that you found particularly rewarding with somebody? Like, is there anything that really stands out to you with anybody?
Not as such, but what I do find rewarding, and you'll be the same, is when you've been with someone a few times and you see the progression. And when you started with them, when they can hardly make a corner and make a decision, to when they're driving relatively quickly and safely on their own. So for me, it's happened a few times, shall we say? That's for me. That's the best time. I mean, there is an occasion where I was in a Carrera GT, so dropping something.
Yeah.
Dropping. Scary car. With someone I knew really well, who was a quick but safe driver, as much as you can be. And we came through Maggots and Beckett's at Silverstone in this Carrera GT. Everyone's looked at it in the pits. Makes a lovely noise, doesn't it? And the feeling of the car's nothing like any other car. When you turn the steering wheel, it actually just goes. You don't feel any roll. It's just flat. It's just fantastic. So we got out through Chapel onto Hanger Straight, and I thought, this is going pretty well. Then he put his foot down. Then it's like God shouting at you from behind. The noise of it was, and we flew down Hanger Straight, but it was the noise that got me. That's that one moment you think, I don't mind doing this job. I'm getting paid to do this. And he's a nice bloke I'm sitting next to. Sorry, that way, because it's left-hand drive. It's a nice bloke I'm sitting next to as well. So it was just a tiny 10 seconds, shall we say, but something that always stick in my mind. It was fantastic.
Well, it's such a special car, isn't it? And again, something that so many people would never get a chance to see, let alone actually sit in one. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, if you could give advice to anybody wanting to get into the industry to do what we do, is there any advice, any little gems you would give people?
Not really, because I want the jobs to myself. Anyone else in the industry? No, okay. If I had any advice, it would be to expose yourself. Careful, to lots of different ways of instruction and lots of different jobs. Because you need this job more than a lot of other jobs. You need experience to handle people. Because as Gordy said to me before, if I'm talking too much, tell me.
No, it's cool. Go.
Gordy said, when I first met Gordy, the first time I met him, he said to me, we was in the hotel near Millbrook, which I can't think of his name. Now, it doesn't matter, does it? We were sitting in a hotel, and he says, look, with this job, that's it, Flitwick Manor.
Yeah, that's the scary ass haunted place. The haunted place. Sorry, carry on.
It's all right. He said to me, you're going to have to deal with anyone from a drugs dealer to a lord. I have been out with a drugs dealer because he told me. Okay? I hasten to add. And also, I've been out with a lord because he invited me to his castle up in Northumberland.
Is that right?
So you have to be exposed to all sorts of things to get the experience to do this job. Because if you've not got that experience or the talent to deal with people, you're soon found out. Because the people we deal with don't suffer fools gladly, do they?
Absolutely.
Apart from me, obviously. But yes, it's all you need to get all-round experience to do this job really well, I think.
No, I think that's perfect, because you're right. I think people assume it's a lot about the technical elements of driving, but like you've highlighted, a lot of it's about tuning into people, and lots of different types of people from different backgrounds, and getting the most out of them individually, which is actually hard, isn't it?
It is,
it takes a lot of experience. And I think back to when I started, I kind of cringe when I think what I used to do to what I do now, and that's experience and learning off of other guys as well, really. So I will stop quizzing you now.
You've passed.
So
all right. Be the first thing I've ever passed.
I thought we'd move on to motorsport in general. So, well, what's your favourite form of motorsport and why?
Okay. Another good
I said
question.
I'd stop with the question. I'm giving you a question.
So, I love Goodwood, the Goodwood revival. Beach in the world. As you know, I could take or leave Formula One. But the Goodwood revival meeting, anything like that, for me, is just fantastic. To see those cars from the 60s and 70s and was it 40s? Is it as well? 50s as well. But all of those older cars being driven properly as well by proper drivers,
real big
sliding around the corners.
Yeah.
Just, to me, anything to do with that is the best motor racing.
Yeah. Well, I think it's a lot more obviously how it used to be, and one thing I noticed is you appreciate the skill set more, because like oh gosh, who is it? He's one of the Porsche guys I like, and he came into Goodwood Revival, and he was a works driver.
Oh yeah, Lotterer. Lotterer, yeah.
So in the past, I've seen him in an LMP car, and then I saw him in this old classic car, and I couldn't believe his car control. But in the LMP car, I couldn't tell, because the cars are so direct and right on the edge, but they're not moving. You see him in this and what he's like, and the first time in it, and almost won it, and it just for me, I love seeing how good some drivers are, and I feel like modern stuff, as much as I love modern motorsport, you can't appreciate really what's going on like you can in an older car anyway. And like you say, just how expensive some of these cars are, and they're racing wheel to wheel, panel to panel.
Go for it.
And I love that. I think that's just, rather than tucked up in a museum, that's where they are. They're out doing what they should be doing.
Yeah.
And I was lucky enough to go to Speed Week last year with Porsche.
Okay. Yeah.
It was the amalgamation of the revival and the festival.
Yeah.
All behind closed doors, and it was just amazing. People like Jack and Stewart and Emerson Fittipaldi just wandering about and stuff.
Yeah.
Good one.
And you can go up to them, can't you?
Oh,
and you can go around the pits.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's just one little square you can't get into, but you can walk round that.
Yeah.
You can't at Formula One and things like that.
Goodwood's a very special place.
And that's where Formula One's lost out a little bit, hasn't it? It's become so corporate, but you can't get near, can you? And even when you do listen to an interview that's so scripted, you don't really feel, do you? Yeah, unless it's going to be right. But why is it so popular?
Yeah.
For that reason, right? Because you get to see a bit of his personality and who he is and that kind of thing. So I'm going to bypass Formula One, because we can't, we've covered that last week.
Yeah, we did, yeah.
So what about IndyCar then?
Because I know you like NASCAR, don't you? You're a NASCAR. You've been to NASCAR, so obviously one of the biggest names in NASCAR was Jimmy Johnson, seven-time champion. Made his IndyCar debut at the weekend. And I mean, he's not trying to make a career in IndyCars, because he's 40, 45, 46. He just wants to do it because he always wants to do it, and he can. And he said his whole thing was he just didn't want to finish last. And I don't think he did. He did all right.
Yeah. Well, it's very, very different, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, I have to admit, I don't know much about NASCAR, but from what he was saying, it's massively different.
Well, the way I look at it is, if you take somebody like Valentino Rossi, who is one of the greatest of all time on a motorbike, he tried to do F1, and he wasn't far off, but he was never going to find that last half second. Schumacher, one of the greatest of all time, did it the other way around, went to motorbikes, and again was brilliant on a bike, but was never going to be a MotoGP champion.
Yeah.
You've got to dedicate yourself to your discipline, which Jimmy Johnson obviously did, was NASCAR. So to then jump into a different discipline, it's different if you've come from F1 and you go to IndyCar and vice versa, because they're single-seaters.
Similar.
There's a correlation.
Absolutely.
But it's like Sebastian Loeb, another one. Sebastian Loeb, probably the greatest rally driver of all time, and a brilliant racing driver, but was never going to be an F1 world champion.
Yeah.
Because he needed to dedicate his life to it from the age of 12. So Jimmy Johnson, he did better than we would ever do. IndyCar such a high level.
That might not be saying much.
But the way he's converted, wasn't it? So the NASCAR, like a 2-ton car, massive car, and an IndyCar, which is totally a different thing altogether. Must drive totally differently.
Yes.
And even though the NASCARs are touching 200 on the big circuits with a restrictor plate, what are the IndyCars? 240 or something like that.
They can't run on NASCAR tracks because they go too fast. So somewhere like Texas, for example, they couldn't run them the Indy cars, because they end up doing 300 miles an hour.
Is that right?
Yeah,
Wow.
they were all getting tunnel vision and all that kind of stuff. And they had to can it.
Yeah.
So what got you into NASCAR then? I have to admit, I like to watch loads of motorsport and try anything, but NASCAR is something I've never really been introduced to. So like, what's great about NASCAR?
For one thing, it's the engine.
Yeah.
It's just the V8 thing again.
Yeah.
Which I will love.
V8 engine. It's just can't be it. So the big thing there is the V8, is the engines. But the other thing is the closeness of the racing.
Yeah.
When you think, as you know, I went to watch the Daytona 500 in 21, just before lockdown. And at one time, as they were going round the track, in fact, for quite a bit of the time, actually, if I think about it, there was 26 cars within a second and a half of each other.
Is that
26 cars out of 40.
Yeah.
So
it's super close.
It's so close. Yeah. And they were averaging 140 round Daytona.
Yeah.
And I think they were topping it. They were going up to 200 in places. But it's the closeness of the racing and the strategy as well. And I thought I was going, and as you both know, I get easily bored and get a bit fractious when I'm bored. And I didn't know I could put 3 hours of racing.
Yeah.
But what they do is they have 3 races in the race. So at 65 laps, you get extra points as you go if you're first.
Oh,
and then again, 20 laps, you get extra points as you go. So the race is always, and it's so close.
Yeah.
And when I was there, they had that really bad shunt as they were coming round on the last lap. They're all together again, and one's trying to bump draft the other and got it wrong slightly, shall we say. Sent Ryan Newman across the track, hit the side upside down. He was then hit by someone else at 170 miles an hour, whatever it was, and he went across the finishing line. I think he came 5th. He did really well. It was upside down. He was upside down as he went through it, and it was just so close.
Yeah.
Unlike the other sport I won't talk about.
Yeah.
So it was that's what got me.
Yeah.
And the whole spectacle of Daytona as well. It was just an amazing experience, which I'd love to do again one day.
Well,
but that's what it is. It's a spectacle as well.
Yeah, that's one thing with the Americans. They're very good at putting on a show, aren't they? They understand it's about the spectator, and the sport won't survive without the spectator. So that's a massive part of it. And and I'm happy to talk about Formula One in that sense, as in they forget that, don't they? That the spectator is the priority, because without that bit, you lose everything.
Well, that's the thing with IndyCar, because IndyCar they deliberately reduced the amount of downforce the cars have, and the way they produce it, the cars can run closer together, so you don't lose time when you're behind the car and that kind of stuff. So again, IndyCar, you don't know who's going to win the race. When it sets off, you've no idea, literally no idea. So the pole guy led for the first 30 laps and then was on a different strategy. And he's then got to try and go flat out to make his strategy work, and that doesn't happen. So he ended up, Alex Palou won it in the end. But it's so much more geared towards being an entertainment.
Yeah.
Somebody gets a bit of a lead, all this debris out, yellow flags, close it all up again. Let's start again. Somebody's getting away. And
just one of the team managers, and I can't remember who it was. He said NASCAR won't be happy until they get 40 cars across the line at the same time. They want close racing. So that's the way it's fun.
That's what people want. That's what people want, isn't it? I don't know anybody who likes motorsport who doesn't want that.
Well, when because we watch a lot of sports car racing, and sports car racing, you can have a 12-hour race.
Oh, it's brilliant.
Where the top 6 cross the line in one go. After 12 hours,
Yeah. Well, I've got more and more into sports car racing recently, haven't I? And I watched the GT Challenge, didn't I, at Monza, and that's a 3-hour race. And you get to the last lap, and you still don't know who's going to win.
No.
And that's what's amazing about it. And you think,
because the
that
person,
were Formula One,
yeah,
you know,
the Porsche that won it started 12th, but he won it. He wouldn't win it because there was a problem. He worked his way to the front, didn't he?
Absolutely, and through very difficult conditions. One thing I've noticed with Formula One now, and I don't mean to sound like I'm slagging off, because it will always be part of the family for us, won't it?
Yeah.
But it was really heavy rain, and the sports cars, it's like, let's get on with it.
Yeah.
And they're on slicks.
Can we make this last another 5 laps on
like, right, we've got
bucketing down with rain?
We've got to do 60 minutes
got wipers
on slicks, because that's when our stop is. You know, and you see these cars like this drifting around, and but it's awesome. You know, you think this is what you want to see. You know,
absolutely, yeah.
And I think that's where Formula One could take a leaf out of pretty much every other form of motorsports book in that sense, isn't it? Really, you know. But no, I'd love to go and see something like NASCAR, or for me the IndyCar 500. That would be pretty special. I think you know, I'd love to go see something like that as well. So should we move on to road cars for a minute?
Finish off with a bit of road car action.
So what road cars do you own, Nick? Let's start with you.
Well, a Cayenne,
a
Mini Cooper Estate, and at the moment a Mustang, but it's up for sale.
Oh, is it?
Yes, it's up for sale.
To be replaced.
It's going to be replaced with something with less wheels. Let's put it that way.
Oh, really?
Really?
Your Renault 3, Reliant Robin 3.
Yeah, Del Boy's van.
Less than that.
Oh, really? So you get rid of the Mustang then?
It is, unfortunately, it's got to go. I've had it 6 years, had some fun out of it, but need to raise some money quickly. Reasonably quickly. So the Mustang's on the way out, unfortunately.
Good grief.
Yeah. Would you get another one in the future, or would you get another kind of muscle car?
If I ever come into some money, one way or another, I'd have a muscle car without a doubt. I don't see the point of having 700 horsepower cars for the road, to be honest.
No. I know what you mean.
Have something with 200 or 300 horsepower that's a handful to drive. And you can be at 50 miles an hour having fun. So I'd have something else like that, I think.
So what would you class as your favorite car, you know, road going car?
So is this that I'd want to own, or have owned, or what I want to own?
If money were no object, favorite car.
Oh, that's a good question. Right, okay. Does it have to be a new car?
No. Whatever you want.
No, okay. If I really had have I got to use it every day?
It's up to you.
That is entirely up to you.
Right, okay. I'd have to have 2 cars, I think. To be honest, I'd keep my Cayenne every day, because it's such a good car every day. And get a dog in it and all the rest of it. But for the weekend, I'd love a Shelby Mustang. An old one. I'd love a 67 GT 500 Shelby Mustang with the 427 NASCAR engine, the one they used to homologate it, the NASCAR. It never went in a Mustang, because Mustangs never raced in NASCAR. It went in the Fairlane, I think it was, but as for NASCAR. But that's what a 67, a proper Shelby, made in the Shelby factory.
Is that an Eleanor? Is an Eleanor one of them?
No, it's a 68, and they've got 390 cubic inch engines. And this has got a 427 cap.
Oh, proper engine.
Bigger.
Bigger. I got that bit.
Bigger is always better.
It's a 7 litre. It's a 7 litre. It's a big boy's one.
Well, don't blame you at all. What about you then, Rich? What would you have?
It changes all the time. I don't know. Probably a 911 of some sort. I've always fancied a mid to late 80s, the G series, because when I was growing up, that's what a 911 looked like. So I'd love one of those. You know, I've got a soft spot for Morris Minors. So I'd have a Morris Minor Traveller.
I do not understand that at all.
We don't mention that though.
Yeah,
Talk about that.
It's not very cool.
So in my defence, Tiffany Dell does a great article about them on YouTube because he had one.
Yeah.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Still, I don't know.
And he said he had the Traveller because it was stiff at the back, which meant it turned in better.
Yeah, you can imagine, can't you?
Yeah.
But the thing is, my nan learned to drive in one of those.
Yeah, your nan's cool. And she's a great driver.
Yeah, okay. Sure.
What about,
I would have a
what about you,
991 GT3 Touring. If I had to have one, it'd be that.
yeah, okay. That's a great car.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Kat, what about you? You still a Cobra girl?
Yeah, AC Cobra Super Snake. Yeah. Yeah, no messing around.
Just a sort of £3 million.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
But I would honestly, and I think partly because my dad always had a replica Cobra, and that's what got me into cars. And I love the side pipes, the noise. We used to drive down the estate, and all the cars, what do you call it? Alarms go off all the time, and it was just an amazing. And that was only a replica and nothing like the Super Snake, but just such a cool car and such a handful.
Yeah.
I remember my dad having to always, and he wasn't a racing driver or anything, but having to heel and toe, otherwise you get gear snatch, and you had to drive it properly, so it's always just been very special, I suppose, and so for me that would always be probably number one. I say that's what I get, but I feel like I'd have to give it to my dad, because I just think
You could borrow it.
Hey, well, no, honestly, I always thought if I won the Euros, I'd love to get something like that and just give him the keys one day, because it's like, it's his, it was always his dream, I suppose. And that got me into cars. So it's a special thing for me, but it's probably 10 times more special for him, So for me personally. So moving on a bit then to new road cars. So we all know now about the new GT3 992.
Mm-hmm.
So what's people's thoughts on that at the moment?
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
Yes, please. I'll have one in that new blue.
So
I was going to say. Yeah. I'll have one of them as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what do you know about it?
Well, it's typical Porsche. So it's an evolution. So they've not reinvented the wheel, though it is the most changed GT3 or something
in a long time. Yeah, mainly because of the aero. So
it's the same engine as the previous one.
Sorry,
right?
and the wishbones as well.
Suspension, isn't it? Yeah.
It's
full
race car suspension, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So much more like a prototype or a single seater, something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, the aero of it, I've actually got it down here. What is it? Yeah, so it's got 385 kilograms of downforce, which is 150% more than the previous model.
Yeah.
So that's how much more the aero has improved.
Yeah.
Which has made it 18 seconds quicker around the Nürburgring. So it's a pretty big jump, that, isn't it?
Massive, isn't it? Absolutely
massive. What Porsche have done with this thing, it's still, because the 991 makes the most spine thing. It's got to be one of the best normally aspirated engine sounds ever, hasn't it? The noise that car makes when it gets towards the red line, and they've kept all that.
Yeah, exactly. It's still naturally aspirated 4-litre flat six.
Like crazy, yeah.
You can still have a manual or auto, which I love all of that because that's all very traditional. And I think that's very, very special, and they've kept that. It is a bit heavier, isn't it? So it's not by much.
No, it's only 5-10 kilos.
Yeah,
it's
5 kilos, something like that.
5 kilos, isn't it? Yeah.
But the racing one's been like as quick as they are, hasn't it? Like the standard Cup car has been as quick as the GT3R.
Yeah, because they released that in the German Carrera Cup and the States. They haven't released it over here for this year.
No, Super Cup's getting it though, right?
Yeah, Super Cup, and it's quick as the RSR. So it's a massive jump, really. But the big people are saying is that yet again, what Porsche do is it feels, even though it's bigger and heavier, it feels smaller and more agile and more like a race car than ever before, and that's one thing very special about Porsche is how they evolve that every time. You know, I was a massive fan of 991 Gen 2, you know, and you do genuinely think, how much better can it get? And, you know, each time they push that forward.
Yeah, they do, yeah.
You know, so for me, that's a big thing that I'd love to get my hands on and try.
Don't go one of those,
so,
yeah.
I assume you've not tried it yet?
No, because it's only just been released. And
yeah.
So, or we've only just seen it. What's the RS going to be like?
Yeah,
well,
exactly. That's the thing, isn't it? Yeah.
See, we have this conversation. I prefer the normal GT3s to RS.
Okay.
I always have. I just think they.
Do you mean as a road car?
Yeah, because they're a bit more roady. Yeah.
Well, yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. But I do think on track an RS feels sharper.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
It feels sharper, doesn't it? You know, I mean, I wouldn't say no to either.
No.
To be fair, you know, I'd be quite happy. But, you know, but out of the two, yeah, I think if you were going road, the GT3 probably. Well, you like touring, don't you? You like more.
Yes, because I wouldn't do track days in it.
Yeah, all this kind of stuff.
I wouldn't do track days in it. So
I like Laird.
You like Morris Minors, don't you?
So? Yeah, Morris Minor. You see, absolutely.
Yeah,
there's a little bimble about in it.
There's just no help. I don't know. But yeah, I have to say, I think I can't wait to get my hands on one. I think Porsche. We know what we all work for Porsche. We know how good they are, don't we? But this sounds like a fairly big jump, so it'd be great to get behind the wheel and really see what that feels like.
Yeah, hopefully we will at some point.
So hopefully we've got some time for a little bit of driving, have we? We got time to talk about driving, do we think?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, happy with that? Yeah,
fine.
So this week's little driving gem is talking about understeer.
Yeah.
So come on guys, so how does understeer occur?
When I drive. Just happens.
Definitely when I drive. Yeah.
So what would be the reasons that would cause understeer?
So essentially it's the car not wanting to change direction, isn't it? It's a front wheel skid. So you turn and the car doesn't turn as much as you've asked, so it's understeering.
Yeah. Okay. So, but how would you say, would that be from entering too fast, turning the wheel too quick? What would the reasons be?
Coming off the brakes too quickly.
Yeah.
Which is a common thing. Yeah.
So all settling really, it's braking traction at the front. So whether you've carried too much speed in or you've turned the wheel too quickly, because that'll induce understeer.
Yeah.
It's the car not responding for whatever reason, and you've got to, as a driver, work out what's caused that. So whether you've gone in too quick or whether it's, as Nick said, that you've jumped off the brakes.
Yeah. And why is jumping off the brakes a bad thing?
Go on, Nick.
Because it's unloading the front of the car.
Yeah.
So what most people do when they go into a corner, they're braking relatively hard, possibly, or very hard sometimes. And what they want to do, as soon as they get to the corner, they want to jump off the brake to get onto the throttle as quickly as they can. But when they've gone on the brake hard, they compress the front springs. So they've compressed it. If you imagine that's a coiled spring between your fingers and you've compressed it as much as this, if you all of a sudden let go of that spring, what happens to the spring?
It extends again quickly,
It pops up really quickly. So the rate of expansion is much too quick. So what happens is the front of the car jumps up, and when you want to turn, you've sent all of the weight to the back. So the back's got far too much grip, and the front hasn't got enough grip, so it won't turn where you want it to go to.
Absolutely.
So the energy dissipates from the front springs too quickly. So the ideal on any car, but especially something like a 911, is to release the brake pedal smoothly to regain grip or keep grip at the front of the car.
Perfect. There we go.
Yeah, we all learned a lot there, didn't we?
Done the job for us. That's great.
That worked for me, obviously.
No, but that's exactly it, isn't it? People don't appreciate that actually braking has such a factor to what's going on at the front end of the car. A lot of people assume it will be steering too heavy, that kind of thing, which can also be part of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're right, is to do with weight movement and not placing it where you need it at the right time. And the more energy in the car, the more it's exaggerated, isn't it?
Yes.
Ultimately.
Yeah, exactly.
So is there any little gems, aside from releasing it more smoothly, is there anything else that you'd add?
Well, the general stuff, I would say, is the smoothness and doing things at the right rate, so you're not rushing the car, and so you've got time to feel what it's doing as you turn. But again, all the things we always look at to his vision is looking far enough through the corner, so you're not trying to carry too much speed in and misjudging that part of it.
It's not taking the car by surprise by steering too quickly, isn't it?
Yeah.
You have to tell it what you want it to do and not force it into what you want it to.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Because as you said, it's smoothness.
Yeah, absolutely. Which I think most people, when they first learn, don't realise at speed how important it is to be smooth, because the adrenaline's pumping, you naturally get a bit more erratic, but actually you need to soften all your inputs and always tell the car what you want to do before you do it. You know, so or hinting as we call it. You know, that kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well. So that's a little driving gem for everybody.
Driving Jim. I know driving Jim.
I don't know. This week anyway. So it's a little interactive thing just to finish off then. So if you could race any generational era, which one would it be and why? And that's to you guys and to anybody else listening, of course, or watching.
Right. For me,
it'd
have to be the 60s. It'd have to be a touring car, and it'd have to be a Galaxy, because I think I'm Jack Sears. Yeah. It's got to be the touring cars from the 60s for me, really. Yeah. Having talked about NASCAR and stuff like that, it'd have to be the big Galaxy in the 60s. It'd be fantastic. Yeah.
You thought that pretty quick, to be fair.
I didn't. No. Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, I think for me, very well, you probably wouldn't survive it, would be 60s into the 70s F1.
Okay, why then?
So like Jackie Stewart kind of era, because I think that's when it was in terms of what Formula One was all about. That was the pinnacle of it, really. When it was glamorous, it was dangerous, it was everything that I knew motor racing to be. A bit like why people do the TT now, or climb Everest, or climb K2 and things like that. Is that's all kind of gone from the world a little bit, really. And like I've said before, I don't want to see people getting killed, but you know, that the world's a different place then, I guess, really, and that was all part of it. Like Sterling Moss said, he wouldn't have done it if it wasn't dangerous.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well, he's got these three sports, don't they? Bullfighting, mountain climbing, and motor racing. Everything else is a game. Ernest Hemingway said that.
Yeah. What about you, Kat?
So for me, probably Formula One again. I know it's really boring, but because when I was younger, that's what I really looked up to. And I would say probably late 80s, early 90s, because it got to a point where there was starting to be some serious aerodynamics, but still a lot of mechanical grit, but a crazy amount of power, more than we have today. Like there was more power than grit basically back then. So you really had to muscle and manage the cars, but you did have aero. It was a little bit safer, but still not that safe. I
There's
feel
still
like,
that air of mystery about it.
Exactly.
Was in the,
like that was quite a sweet spot. And then it started to get almost a bit too technical. And what I'm not keen on now is like engineers basically telling the drivers what to do, how to do it, when to do it, all that kind of thing. You know, back then there wasn't any of that, you know. So for me, that's a very special era, but it's probably what you grow up with and what you look up to. So for me, that's what I looked up to at that point, and that meant a lot to me. You know, if I think late 80s up to about 98, something like that, you know, my dream then was Formula One, you know. So I think that kind of era, if I could go back and be in that era, it would just be such an awesome experience, you know. For me, but so if for anybody else, of course, please write in, send us an email if you also want to let us know the era that you would like to race in and why, and that would be great. So
that's about it then. I think we've run out of time.
We pretty much have. So
thank you, Nick,
for coming on.
It's been a pleasure.
Nick Arnold, if anybody wants to get in touch with him, he's a great coach, so you know, please do. And yeah, don't forget to like and subscribe.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
See you next time.